I won $10 on Playway, $20 backup on Pick 3, and cash for each, please.
Okay, are you adding multi-X to your bet?
Yes, multi-X, all of them.
Smart! Best value bet. Backup and multi-X. You cannot go wrong.
Don't matter the bet, multi-X all of the daily games.
With multi-X added, your winnings can be multiplied 3 times, 5 times, even 7 times. So make it a rule. Add multi-X to all your Playway, daily Pick 3, and daily cash for bets every day and for every drop, and watch your money grow. Available at stores and online.
You heard it here. Multiply your winnings daily. Must be 18 or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Good morning, clubbers, and of course, welcome to another edition of the Wake Up Club. Listen, fantastic Friday in the Isle of Spice. You know, it's a bit overcast outside, but you know, if you're paying attention, you know what you have to walk with today. You know, proper shoes, your umbrellas, you know, proper clothing. You know, if your children are going to school this morning, and they should be going to school this morning, make sure that you know they have the little raincoats in their bags, their umbrellas, whatever, because it definitely is going to be an overcast day, but it's a beautiful day. I'm looking outside and I'm seeing all the vegetation, how green and rich, you know. Also reminds me at this point when I say green and rich, the blessings that we have as people and how appreciative we should be. So this morning, I'm appreciative for good health, family, friends, opportunities, you know, travel, friendship. There's so much to be grateful for this morning. And of course, we have a fantastic show in store for you this morning. Carnival is in the air. Music is all about enjoying the new music all around. I'm enjoying the little banter on social media about people's opinions of different artists and their music for the year. But altogether, great music so far. So I know that we're going to have a bumper Spice Mass 2024. But we're speaking to people this morning who have music at the heart of their organization. And we're going to be chatting this morning with Mr. Martin James, Ms. Shrivon Redhead, and Mr. Keane Cotter of the Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization for Music Rights. They've been on the Wake Up Club before, but we now want to know what's happening now, how far they're getting in terms of protecting our artists and their music rights, you know, and how important their job is to the artists and to the people involved in music as a whole. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive straight into that conversation. We'll be right back, clubbers. welcome back. And of course, this morning we're going to be chatting music. We're going to be chatting music rights. And I want to welcome my guests to the Wake Up Club. I want to welcome Siobhan Redhead, Martin James, and Keen Cutter to the Wake Up Club. Of course, Siobhan and Martin, you guys are no strangers to the Wake Up Club family. So welcome back. And Keen, of course, you're making your debut. So welcome to the Wake Up Club.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I think that might be my first time doing a Grenadian interview. I'm not even sure, but I think it is. So thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. Listen, guys, Carnival is in the air, and I ain't talking just about Spice Mass. You know, the entire region, you know, from St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Barbados, to Grenada, Carnival is in the air. And when we speak in Carnival, we're talking our artists, we're talking music rights, we're talking about their protection, because I always struggle with the fact that, you know, our music tends to still be seasonal within our own countries, you know, and I always am worried about how the artist survives out of the busy season. And I know that they can through royalties and music rights and all of that. So my first question is, how does the current legislation in the Eastern Caribbean protect the rights of music creators and ensures fair compensation? And anybody can jump in this morning with the question.
All right. Well, Kurt, I'll go at it. First, I want to say thank you very much, and I mean it's always a lovely thing to be on the Wake Up Club. You know, to wake up with the people of Grenada. Thank you for the question, and yeah, as to go straight to your question, how the legislation within our OECS, like we indicated the last time we were on the show, there is legislation. There is legislation, like in Grenada and all the other OECS territories. We do have a copyright act that guides the way copyright should be treated and be managed. In some of the jurisdictions, we do have a little anomaly, you know, where some of the copyright acts are without the respective regulations, and I think we could get straight into it in terms of, for Grenada in particular. Right now, we've engaged our attorney, and we are looking at a regulation, the writing of a regulation, and so we could propose it to the government, so then we could make things much easier and much better for the creatives in Grenada. So the state of the legislation really is pretty much the same. It's consistent. It's just that we are looking into it now to improve on it and to harmonize it, because there's a disunity between in and amongst all of the territories within the OECS.
Well, let me ask for some clarity. So you're saying that you're working on the legislation now for Grenada. So it hasn't been submitted to government yet. Explain that to me. Because I'm concerned about compliance if there's no legislation that has been agreed on.
There is legislation. There's a Copyright Act in Grenada that is aged, an aged Copyright Act, and this one of the issues that we've been facing in Grenada in particular is the fact that the Copyright Act do not have a supporting regulation. It does not have the supporting regulations, you know, because you know what the regulations do. You have the act, but the regulations actually give you the how it's done and why. If you do this, then the repercussions and, you know, and everything. So in that case, we saw the need. We have engaged our attorney, and we are working on that piece of legislation in terms of the regulations, so that we could submit to government as we speak with them, you know, in terms of improving the whole status quo in Grenada. Okay. But Siobhan or anyone could jump in if anything.
Do you have a time frame in mind?
Well, we gave ourselves a 6 months time frame. Is it, Kin? We gave ourselves 6 months, because you would appreciate the legislation needs to be drafted. It needs to be after it's drafted, then you go through it again and ensure that it captures, you know, all what you that needs to be captured therein. So we give ourselves a 6 months time frame. So by end of year, we that should have been presented to the government already.
Okay, but let me ask this. The current copyright legislation that exists in Grenada, it does protect the artists in terms of royalties and stuff like that?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, can jump in. Yes.
Yeah, and it protects the creators, and not only artists and producers and songwriters. It also protects people like you, Kirk. You know, with your show, it prevents people from taking your show and airing it like it's theirs. You understand? So it's not only for music, but books, film, TV, and so on. So the Copyright Act is there, and it does say what the creators can and cannot do, and what other persons who did not create the work can and cannot do as well.
Okay, great. Now, Siobhan, you were recently, announced as the Echo agent for Grenada. How has it been so far in terms of getting buy-in and educating people on their rights, so to speak?
And first of all, thanks for having us on the program. Very much appreciative of the Ride Along team and Martin and Keen joining us from St. Lucia, waking up very early. So thanks for that as well to help have this conversation. So the thing is, the approach had to be somewhat segued into what should be, in my opinion, heavily weighted and dealt with by not only ECHO, but like the government of Grenada and the respective entities like SpiceMass, etc. Because Martin specifically spoke about legislation is in place and it clearly defines copyright, who should benefit, who shouldn't benefit, etc., etc. However, with a modern version or improved version of the regulation, which specifies if Jimmy does not put X on that dot, this is the consequence for non-compliance, etc. There is a gap between the conversation we're trying to engage and the respective entities in terms of their responsibility and obligation to adherence to the legislation that's in place. So I think that's what Martin was trying to convey. Now, in terms of how has it been so far, I would say A+ in terms of engagement, starting the conversation. So what ECHO has done since we've been on the ground here actively in Grenada, we've had conversations with SpiceMass. We've had conversations with GOCA. As you know, GOCA has been leading the charge for the last couple of years in terms of creative rights, creative direction, creative investment, the general space that is considered creatives within Grenada. GOCA has been leading that. And I must say that the GOCA team has been very supportive. We're actually in the process of also planning a seminar along with them to invite artists and creatives, etc., to ensure that there's an avenue not only for them to learn about copyrights, but to understand how they could possibly consider being undermined currently based on the circumstances that exist in Grenada, particularly affecting them. Yeah. Now, ideally, we should be leading the charge with membership and growing our base. But to be very honest, in the last couple of months, I've been, Martin and Keen as well, very actively pursuing the respective agencies, the police, SpiceMass, as I said, GOCA, Cultural Foundation, the ministers, even obviously we communicated, sent a formal communication into the Prime Minister's office to say, hey, we're here. This is our potential agenda. Please come on board, not only because we would love to have your support to move forward publicly and be understood as that, but to also have the respective spaces that need to fall within the compliance line see that you're on the same line with us as well. So it's been great in terms of we've been able to open those doors, but we also need to have that very, very, very critical element that Martin did discuss, which is the rewriting of the regulations that sit within the legislation to ensure that there is a legal arm to allow us to roll forward. Because the membership and the members, we would love to see them growing, and persons have definitely expressed interest, and there's a few persons, some old members we had to resuscitate because I don't think they remember that, that they benefit in, and they need to register their new whatever songs and so on that they'll be putting out. But we've been actively doing the long list of everything I just mentioned in the last couple months, thereabouts. Yeah.
No,
go ahead, Marty.
Yeah. I was just saying, along with all that, while we in 2020 in 2025, we are in 2025. We're not in 1965, my brother, where everything is modernized, everything is right there. So we, as a collective, as a major stakeholder, we are trying to see how we could gel all this together for the creatives and the future creatives of Grenada. But the government and people of Grenada, when I say the government, because the government represents the citizenry, the government who is tasked with ensuring that everybody, every creative, everybody survives within this state, have to understand and have to want the protection for the creatives, so they must have a posture of want, a posture of ensuring that the creatives are protected. So we don't want to do all that and yet still seem to be fighting with Spice Mass, fighting as opposed to becoming a stakeholder and let us work in tandem, as opposed to, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm coming at you. So you see me as the enemy, or as an enemy might be too strong, an adversary kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not, we don't want that. And I think the time is right for us to change that entire narrative. The narrative needs to be changed. And as Trayvon said, the membership must assist in leading that charge.
Okay, well, definitely. Listen, I know for a fact as a creative, we have a government that is for the creative, with the emergence of the creative economy and all of that.
Good job.
So I know that the government is for, understands the mandate. They're pushing the creative economy. But I've got to talk compliance, and that's where the legislation comes in. How does the organization collaborate with radio stations to promote compliance with music rights legislation? And I've got to ask it because, we talking culture, but culture is a way of life too. And if I accustom getting it for free and I accustom playing people music for free, okay, to change that cultural mind shift and to get people compliant is not going to be easy if there are no measures put in place, okay, to penalize you for not being compliant.
Right. So that discussion is not new. Exactly the angle you've just presented have been replayed and replayed and replayed, because we have been at it for quite some time now, and this is why we are working on the regulations, because in the absence of the regulations, a lot of persons we've taken persons to the courts, but you need to have backbone and you need to stand on legal grounds, when you go to the courts, and this is where the anomaly presented itself, and that's why we are trying to close this gap there right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, what sort of initiatives are in place to, of course, we've got to change that mindset, so it has an educational aspect to it. So what sort of initiatives are in place to educate radio stations, and not only radio stations, but promoters and even Spice Mass itself, who is non-compliant on paying the music rights? And Siobhan, that's a big task for you here in Grenada.
Oh, yeah, it's a big task, and I was just telling her to jump in, because she has presented quite a lot of initiatives and approaches, so she could just update you on that then.
Well, based on the prior bits of the conversation, you see the importance of starting it within the framework and the structure, which is the organizations, the establishment, the administration, etc. That you can't look away from it. You can't pretend it doesn't exist. And it would be great to just be out in the streets, blasting the conversation, to join, sign up, monetize, etc. However, the importance of getting that Skillington framework in place must happen. So, I think I mentioned earlier, we'd have had multiple layers of engagement from the broadcasters to the administration to the organizations that sit in between, such as, I keep saying Spice Mass because they come to mind, but Spice Mass, the cultural, the ministry, the ministers, these conversations have been initiated and continued, but with the legal aspect that somehow everybody seems to be aware of, because as you said, for the last how much years they've been doing what they've been doing, and there isn't any slap on the wrist and so on. Especially the radio stations seem very aware of it. So that conversation has been high. We're here. Mm-hmm. Let's agree and acknowledge that we are all in the know that this is a violation. So how can we smoothly walk through this and get you on the compliance side before the legal aspect of it is tidied up and we're in a position where ECHO is just running through the judicial system unnecessarily. So that's been that type of conversation with the reassurance to the persons who are, who are interested in joining. Like, how do I benefit? Because Spice Mass is coming up. My song is going to be playing on the radio 50 million times. As much as I may be interested to have the international benefit, as a local artist, my pocket is heavily affected within this season. So I need to understand that if I do sign up, all the weight of everything else and benefit of everything else that comes with signing up, I'm getting that. Yeah. So what I would say is, apart from that skill intel framework to make sure that we have presence in line, which is, as Martin said, it's going to take a little bit of time in terms of getting the legalities all straightened out. But in the interim, the conversation is educational. We would have met with the Producers Association, and subsequent to that, I would have met with at least 7 or, well, I think I'm up to 10 now, of the island's well-known producers to say, hey, because I'm thinking about it from let's start within instead of going external and dragging. You're the producers, you're sitting one-on-one with these artists every single day, leading into Spice Mass and otherwise. Let's get you on board. And let's get your clients and whoever else you have coming in, let's get them on board as well in terms of understanding the importance of having the weight of this membership to try and make a shift without having to make it a legal battle, which is in Caribbean courts will just be time, money, and lengthy conversations when we could just make it a simple sign up, get paid because the radio station is compliant, and sign up and get paid because YouTube or whoever else is compliant. It should be as simple as that. However, where we are, I don't think of it as a negative position to be in, because when you're on the opposite side of having, the only option you have is to attain, right? So we're in a position where the only option we have is growth. So I think of it as a positive thing. We just have to be patient, but not lenient. We have to, I'm saying we, but I mean, I have to continue with the follow-up calls. I have to continue with the follow-up letters, which has been happening, and just try as much as possible to get at least some traction, some response. So there's an acknowledgement saying, yeah, I know I'm not in compliance. And that's the beginning from their end to start the secondary part of it. Okay, now that you acknowledge, how do we fix it so we can get the persons that need to benefit.
Okay, most definitely. But I've got to ask you about the creatives buy-in. Yeah, we're talking about the people who are using their material and benefiting from it, like the radio stations, the promoters, the fetters, and so forth. But what about the buying from the creatives? Because to me, that's where it starts. Now, I am appreciative of it as a creative myself. If I share, like a lot of artists send me their new content, and if I share it on social media, I'm always happy when I get that flag from Facebook saying that, this is monetized and this has to be shared. So I know artists. I ain't meet an artist who ain't like money yet. Okay? But what is their buy-in? Are they really understanding the benefit? I know there are some artists that are reaping the rewards from it already, but a lot of the artists, are they understanding the initiative from your experience and those that you're encountering, not only here in Grenada, but throughout the Caribbean? Anybody?
Can you jump in?
Am I kind of coming across good? Coming across okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's a great question, because every time I speak with creatives, the first thing I always tell them is, you should join a CMO depending on how far you want to take your career, right? Because it could be only money, but at the end of the day, how how far you want to take your career is dependent on the structure you have in place to help you monetize your creativity. So joining a CMO like Echo is the first step, because you would look to engage some international companies, and the first thing they would ask you is, are you a member of a CMO? If you were to go to a writing camp where you get the opportunity to write for some major artists, they want to know that you are a member of a CMO, because at the end of the day, it protects you and it also protects them. So being part of a CMO, putting the structures in place, and there are multiple organizations that you should join if you really want to capitalize on your creativity. There are so many that exist, but a CMO like Echo is one, and the very first step, right? So there is that, and there's the monetary angle as well, where a lot of people join Echo just hoping that they would get paid for their songs playing on radio, but they do not really understand the processes, right? So the first, you have to be a member of Echo. Your songs has to be registered. Your songs has to be playing at licensed events and venues, radio stations, and so on. And we must collect that data. So that's the process that must happen for any creative to get paid, anyone to get paid when the music is used.
Okay. Now I'm gonna ask you this, because I know that this probably is a factor for the artist. What is the cost to register my work with Echo? How expensive is it? Is there a cost? Is there a membership fee?
Well,
Okay, so to become a member of Echo, there's a one-time fee of 150 EC dollars, right? That's it. That's our processing fee and so on, because we pay the IPI system to maintain our IPIs for us, right? So that cost goes towards those fees. And that's it. There's no other fee to register a song. There's no other fee to do anything else. That's as long as they provide the requirements, which is passport size photos, complete the form, fill in, sign the agreement, provide us with some MP3s, and register at least 2 songs. Then that's it.
Okay. Now, do I have to register the name of my song? Like if I'm doing new music every year, do I have to register the songs, okay, that you guys are aware of which songs are mine? How does it work?
Yeah, every year, every song that is released needs to be registered with us. So we need what we call the metadata, right? So we need the title of the song, we need the genre, we need the artist, we need the year it was released, the date, we need the songwriters, we need the creators, we need to know the government names of who wrote the lyrics, who composed the music. If there is a publisher on there, we need to know who the publisher is. We need to see a publishing agreement if it's the first time that's being done, right? And that has to be done every time. And an MP3 of the song has to be provided, so we could upload it into our ID fingerprinting system. So when it's played on licensed radio stations, we are able to track those plays. So we'll know if it played on what stations, for how long, how often, and so on.
Listen,
and where
you broke that down, because you see, it's not just the singer, it's the songwriter, it's the producer, it's everybody that's benefiting. And I think that's where the conversation has to happen, because I think you did it right, Chibon. You started to speak to the producers, because that's where it happens, so that they're also able to educate everybody on the entire process. Now, Martin, I know you spoke about this before, but for me, I sometimes like to reiterate stuff so I can make sure that people understand this one. How does the organization monitor the radio stations to ensure that they are adequately compensating artists for the music they play? I need a reminder of how the monitoring system works. For example, for a radio station in Grenada that is playing this music, is there a local monitoring mechanism? How does it work?
I will allow Kin to explain that to you this time around.
All right. Okay. So we use a service to monitor the radio stations, right? So as long as a station is licensed, we put that, we activate it, right? So what happens is there's nothing that the radio station needs to do beside sign the agreement and make payments, right? We monitor that station as long as they come on board and sign the agreement. We monitor that station, and we are able to see everything from then on. There is no extra step. There is no extra gear they need to get. Nothing. So because we upload our members' works into that system, it gives it an ID, a fingerprint. So that song is uniquely identified whenever it's played. Also, we are able to ingest songs from like Spotify and the other streaming services. So once it's played on that station, we are able to see. So we know for sure. So at the end of the year, if we search for a song, we could tell you, well, yeah, that song was played such and such times. We could see the top 10 artists, or top 100 artists, top 100 songs, whatever. We have access to that data because of the monitoring and the tracking.
Listen, I need sorry, but I need a little more clarity, because Grenada has probably about 20 radio stations. And I know it definitely is some sort of electric or technological mechanism, but I need to understand it. Does every radio station have to register?
Right.
Is it done?
Okay. So just permit me to just add a bit. In Grenada in particular, I'm using Grenada because your question was specific to Grenada. Yes, we have about 20 radio stations. Or broadcasters ready, right? Audio visual.
Yeah.
Not one is licensed. So what Kin explained there is the process of monitoring. And now it is a digital, the system we speak of is digital. So you need not do anything because we operate within a digital space. So as long as you play it, it will be picked up. And that is through satellite, through the cloud, it will be picked up digitally. So all before what obtained was the you had to provide how you call it, Kin, the
radio logs.
The radio logs and written radio logs. So you dealt with beautiful handwriting or the opposite there, or the opposite, bad spelling or good spelling. You dealt with, so many issues or situations that presented itself you could not understand, to infuse that in the metadata, which is the information that you need, the data. So that is why we saw it prudent, and the world has moved that way. All of our associates use a particular digital system to monitor, and that is what is happening. So there was a scenario in Grenada where we were monitoring some stations, but it's a diminishing return because we are paying hundreds of thousands of US dollars to monitor throughout the OECS, and you're not bringing in anything. So I'm monitoring you, which is necessary for us to pay out, because without that data, you cannot pay out. So you collect the monies and the data, and you pay out according to what that is played and what have you. So that is what. So we were monitoring some stations in Grenada, just because if we did not monitor, we would not get the data to at least give back to the creatives in Grenada. So it's a multifaceted issue that we are having, or situation rather, that we are having, and we need that narrative must change, and we've been saying that, and we have persons. We spoke about the courts, or going to the courts in terms of having that legal backbone, but as well as we need dissuasion, we need the government, and whilst they have professed their love and their appreciation and they want to ensure that we have a good creative sector within Grenada, we want to see the manifestation of it. We want to see it manifest in ensuring and working with the CMO, because we don't operate in a silo, as we said. We don't operate in a silo. We operate within a global space. We are obligated to report to the international agencies, and the international agencies are monitoring themselves. So we cannot come and say, oh, we did this in Grenada, we did that. We have to show that we are trying to work with the government, work with the creatives, work with the users, and work with everybody as a collective. So for Grenada, as we speak, not one broadcaster. So the radio, the creative in Grenada and the creative from the other societies, because we through reciprocals, we are mandated to administer the rights for our creatives across the world. The creatives in Grenada will hear their song. They keep hearing their song. Their songs are is being used throughout the season, and that is where that's the biggest revenue generator for our creatives. It is through the season. We're seasonal. I think you said it. We're seasonal, and they will hear it, but there's an anomaly, and that's why they keep blaming the wrong set, because they are blaming Echo as opposed to blaming the people that create the pipe already. Create the issues, because the government has an obligation, right? Or authorities, let's use authorities. We have to ensure that because we are law abiding, but there's particular task that befalls the government. Just like with ECHO, we have a mandate to ensure that we administer those rights, because this is what we do. And in administering it, there must be certain things that fall in line. So in Grenada, not one broadcaster is licensed, and we need to change that, and we need to improve on that. And it is not just for ECHO monitoring, it is we doing it for the creatives, because the creatives now need to understand that. And when they do understand that, and when they work in tandem with ECHO, work in sync with your organization, we'll be able to achieve. We are not going to get it, bam, just get everything one time. We want it incremental and incremental. That's why we want to ensure that when we go to the government and we speak to them, we say, here's what, here's the legislation, here's that, let us see how we could do it. Because in the absence of getting things working, then you may have to fall back to the court. But we don't want to go to the court. We want it to be, because we are all in this together. Listen to me. Hey, everything is like a domino effect. Everything works out. Everything is interrelated.
Listen, as I said, it is a mammoth task, because we're talking about, the importance of getting people compliant and changing the culture of the freebie that have existed so long. And unfortunately, without the proper legislation in place, people are going to find the loopholes and the excuses for being non-compliant, while our artists and our creatives suffer. Okay, yeah. So definitely, I want to commend you guys for the work that is happening. Feedback mechanism. Is there a feedback mechanism for artists to reach out, report issues? Because I'm going to tell you, it's a game. For example, I have artists that approach me every day. Kirk, do you know somebody on the radio station? I'd like to get my music played. And sometimes there is that desperation to get my music on air, that, I just want my music on air so that people could hear it and I could hear it, So we've got to switch that power dynamic. And I guess it is only going to happen with legislation. So we've got to move this along quickly. I know that there are artists who currently benefit, because they're registered local artists who currently benefit. And maybe their testimonials might be what's needed for other artists to understand what they're losing out on. So the conversation has to happen, and I'm glad that it started.
There's one thing.
Go ahead.
No, just one thing I just wanted, since you say losing out, and I think you alluded to it earlier when you said you upload the music to YouTube and you say, hey, it's been monetized and what have you. As we speak, it's through our CMO, through our umbrella body called Access, which is a body of 4 CMOs, which would be the CMO in Barbados, the CMO in Trinidad and Tobago, the CMO in Jamaica, and the OECS, all right, ECHO. We are negotiating with YouTube and TikTok right now, and it's costing us a lot just to go through that negotiation. We are paying a consultant to negotiate, because YouTube, and I told you the last time, has indicated quite eloquently that they want nothing to do with the OECS, they want nothing to do with the Caribbean, with the exception of Jamaica. So YouTube, whilst this is the predominantly used platform for us to upload our music and for it to be played, a Grenadian content creator cannot monetize their account. They cannot monetize their account within that location. So if you have any creators in Grenada getting monetized or their account is monetized, is because
they've registered it in another place.
In the US or somewhere there, not within the Caribbean. So that needs to change, because whilst YouTube is a big player, we have to recognize as a region, we need to speak to those big players, because it is affecting, it's affecting our creatives, and it could improve the lives of our creatives, because it's really something that is worth discussing with them, and it's costing us to discuss it. So this is why we want all the frameworks to be in place, so by the time these things are played out, you have multiple streams of income, of monetizing for our creatives.
Okay, now most definitely, and I understand the mandate of ECHO and ensuring that our creatives can have their music registered, but there is that educational aspect, and I want to ask about support. What support does the organization provide for emerging artists in navigating music rights? Because a lot of the artists have no idea about music rights. They hear royalty, they know the word royalty, but they don't understand the process. So there must be an educational drive. Can you tell me about that, Siobhan, Keen?
Very important element to all of this, because you're right. I was listening along the conversation here in terms of who's aware, who's registered, are some of the local artists registered, and there's a percentage of the existing known performers who, I'm pretty sure because of their exposure regionally, internationally, they now have a firm grasp on the benefit of being registered with the CMO and having their music, monitored and being compensated for it. For the general base in Grenada, and I'm not going to put the weight, there's no blame game here, because to be honest, I feel like if the conversation is just starting for Grenada, and the awareness is literally just starting from, that's how I think about it, from today, from a couple months ago. So in conversation, just one-on-one feedback, in conversation with artists, not much are aware, not much understand the concept of I should be paid when my song plays on the radio, or I should be paid separate and apart if I'm on an event. Apart from my performance fee, there should be some other compensation if my song is on repeat in that event. There isn't a general understanding of it. That's why I said I definitely invested some time in conversations with the GOCA team in terms of how can we do a seminar, how can we do a workshop to get artists, get producers, get songwriters, get everybody in one space as a start. I know it's a big feat to get the mass into us, but I think that's a starting point, because we don't want to be in a situation where we're counting singular raindrops when we're in a storm. Yeah. So I think we have to pull the artists together as much on the back end. We're trying to talk to the government and Spicemas, etc. I think the importance of getting the mass together in one space to start that conversation and have that little educational drive in terms of what's the benefit, how can you benefit, etc. That is going to happen soon. As per the GOCA team availability, and they do invest quite a bit, and the conversation is, if we're investing quite a bit and we're supportive of the creatives and we're creating funds and grants and opportunities for them to invest in their talent, the concept should be, what's the ROI? If you're thinking of the country as a business, it should be, what's the ROI on this investment? Because GDP is also dependent not just on shipping nutmeg out and shipping and whatever else comes in. It's also dependent on the creative space and how they contribute to this country's economy. So that's the answer, I think, to your question in terms of the direction. Apart from the one-on-one conversations, and I think I've spoken to probably over, I'm in multiple spaces where they are. So probably like over 50. So we're not just talking about the big guns, so to speak, with everyone. And I have to thank, I think it was Soca Jeff, He was one of the persons who actually reached out to me very early to find out what can I do, how can I sign up, how do I benefit. And for the Grenadians, they knew who Soka Jack is. He was a up and coming artist. Is a up and coming artist. Had a really good hit last year, and he wanted to understand how and what and how does Echo tie into him. So for the ones who are not aware that are reaching out, I appreciate. For the ones who are taking my call and and enjoying the entertainment of the conversation, I thank you for that as well. But I think that big gathering needs to happen, because as much as the skeleton is being worked on, I think the weight of the masses needs to be felt. If Echo Grenada has 5,000 members, 4,000 members, and they're all shouting the same thing, somebody has to listen beyond the lone Echo agent and Martin.
Or somebody will hear. Right. Can I just jump in and just add a bit there from the office standpoint? We have recognized the gap between using the social media and using and going real hard on it in terms of ensuring, because a lot of our creatives, I mean the younger folk, they are very in tune with the social media platforms and stuff. So we've recognized that we need to do a little more of that. We are putting in some seminars and some webinars that we should be presenting and unveiling and to our members, and some training opportunities as well for the entire core, of course, for the entire membership across the OECS. And we are revamping a program. We used to have a program called Musically Speaking that aired every Saturday, but it was only on radio. So now we are going to do a version. We're going to do a television version and extract part of that and send it to maybe Cook. You send it to the audio, send it to the TV and everything. So all that will be within this quarter. All that will be happening. So all these are approaches to improve the communication, improve the PR, improve the connection between our members in particular and the organization, as well as the users of music. So we are working in terms of that marketing, really, or if you want to put it, PR campaign in terms of engaging our members.
Okay. So definitely we're on the right track. We're working on legislation to make people compliant. We're educating people on their music rights. Okay. We're knocking on the doors to make sure that we can get people to buy in. It's going to be a cultural shift, but it is important and it's essential because everybody else around the world is doing it. We can't get left behind. We're almost wrapping up, but I want to ask each of you, in the season that we're in now with Carnival throughout the region, what would you like to say to our creatives? There might be something that I didn't touch on or we didn't touch on during the interview this morning, but what would you like to say to our creatives who are in the hype of putting their life work out there? They've invested, begged, borrowed, some of them not even getting the bookings to really make the money, but they're putting stuff out there. What do you want to say to them? And I'm throwing that out to each of you.
Okay, so I would say to them, it's called the music business for a reason. It's all good and well to be doing, creating songs, putting it out there, and having people enjoy your music and so on. But at the end of the day, every platform you use to distribute your music earns from distributing your music. So for example, it being played on radio, they generate advertising revenue. It being on YouTube, they advertise, the platform benefits from you distributing it with the streaming platform. The distributors, they benefit as well, except you as a creative, right? So you have to understand it's a business. And you have to take the necessary steps, put things in place. Like I said earlier, being part of a CM1 and implementing the different structures to to be able to enable you to monetize is always a plus. But at the end of the day, also it's about education too, right? And things have been done in the past by other people in similar situations who are able to benefit, right? So people use a lot of creating content on TikTok and on YouTube and Instagram and so on to help promote their music. And also, so that's an avenue that can be taken. Also, I always encourage creatives to read. There are a lot of things that happens every day. If you sign up to Billboard, every day you will see somebody getting sued over copyright infringement. You'll see AI getting sued or labels in talks with AI and so on. Like, so there's a lot happening in the world. The US has its own challenges, the EU has its own challenges, and we in the Caribbean have major challenges. These big territories have structures and frameworks in place that enables the creatives to thrive, right? While they're talking about streaming should pay artists more, we're still at the
radio
level
stations.
where our radio stations need to pay, right? And the other territories, Europe and Asia, and imagine where we have countries like Denmark and Turkey generating 500 million US for the creatives. Meanwhile, we in the Caribbean, we're still struggling to generate 4/4 of that. You understand? To try to benefit our creatives down here. So I encourage them to read, to learn as much as possible, and always reach out to Echo because we have a very knowledgeable team that always willing to help and assist and put them in the right direction.
Martin, we'll leave Siobhan for last as she's homegrown.
Oh yes. Oh yes, indeed. And you saved the best for last anyhow. Well, that's what we were taught. Yeah, well, thank you very much. Well, what I would say to the creatives, I think Keen would have touched on quite a lot, but I would say to them, keep creating good content. Keep creating positive content. And I say positive in the sense that not necessarily your music, but positive for your audience. So you want to reach a particular demographic, you want to reach a particular audience. If you just create the music for them, yes, you will achieve it. But then now you need to see beyond just creating for that demographic. If you want to go mainstream, you must understand the music business. So keep creating good content. Ensure that you are registered with a CMO. And here's what? Educate yourself. And keep educating yourself and just keep creating good content. And you can present, you could want your song to be played and you could want your song to be, boy, give me a blind, to use the local terms. Give me airplay. But you can't get airplay and get paid simultaneously. So do not put one over the other. It's an ecosystem, and I rather use ecosystem. It's a full ecosystem that you could benefit in. You understand? So at the end of the day, keep creating good content, keep doing it right, keep doing it, but understand the music business. And we are here. Echo is there to protect your rights.
Most definitely. Siobhan?
I'll keep it pretty simple. And I've had this conversation with Boise, Dash, Vaughn. Run the long list, I've had this conversation. The reality for entertainers within the region is that you do not have a retirement plan. So if there's an option where you could earn residual or have an option where there could be a form of income that's guaranteed to you, why not? Why not sign up and be a member? That's what I would say to them. You can reach out to me at 456-5043. That's on the Echo Direct line. Or you can also email in with queries if you like at grenadaagent@echoright.com. But for the artists, what I would say to them is all Grenadians like oil long. So why are you bringing all the ingredients for the pot, but you're standing with your plate empty and the food cooked already? That's what I would say to them to keep it simple. Yeah? Let's get the ball rolling, guys. Like, we have 100% support throughout the region, because Echo team doesn't just sit here, it sits throughout the region. And everybody is vying for Grenada to get on stream and making sure all our creatives are compensated properly. We are doing the heavy lifting for you guys. All you need to do is show up and sign up. $150. It's trying times for all, but $150 with a guarantee return until you die. not to make it sound grim, but I'm just saying if it's an option that exists for you,
until 70 years after you die. Until 70 years after you die.
There you go. So your grandkids, generations thereafter could benefit. So let's get the ball rolling. I want to see my people benefit. That's what I would like.
Come to the meetings, man. Come to the meetings.
Okay.
Be present.
Listen, guys, it's always a pleasure having you guys on. As I always say, you have some information you like to share. Please reach out to me because this is also very important to me, because I've worked with artists. I am a creative myself. So I want to see us grow and I want to see us, advance. So, just shoot me an email if there's something. If you're having a workshop, if there's a session, let me know about it. I'll be happy to talk about it and share it with people. What's happening within the region, send it, because we're interested in knowing what's happening. Yeah. So please keep the clubbers, at the back of your mind. Well, at the front of your mind, not the back of your mind. So guys, listen, it's a pleasure. It's a fantastic Friday. I don't know what the weather is like in St. Lucia. It's overcast here.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, but on my end, it's beautiful on my end.
Okay. Well, listen, guys, have a safe weekend. Enjoy, do something, relax, rejuvenate. I want to thank you guys for joining us. And of course, don't be a stranger on the Wake Up Club.
Not at all. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
You are a resource, and we'll tap into that resource. I think we
most definitely. I'm here. I'm happy to share. And I understand the importance of getting the message out there, and making sure that the message is clear and it's not blurry, because a lot of people have their apprehensions, and they have their apprehensions because they don't have the knowledge and the facts. Yeah. So we've got to bring the knowledge and the facts to people. So guys, thank you once again for joining us on the Wake Up Club. We take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Are you a progressive young leader, a proactive emerging executive, a rising professional? Then you need appropriate cover for your vehicle. Introducing the Pro Motor Plan from Beacon. Car insurance that includes free loss of use, windscreen cover up to $3,500, free special perils, free accident forgiveness. Get Beacon's Pro Motor Plan today. Don't procrastinate. Call Beacon today at 440-4447 or visit beacongrenada.com.
Welcome back, folk. And of course, you're tuned into the Wake Up Club. I'm appreciative of you. I know you have options, you have choices, you've stuck on the Ride Along Network, and I want you to know that we do appreciate you. Fantastic Friday. As I said, if you're going outside, where I am, it's overcast. I don't know which part of the country you're in, but just take the necessary precautions. Listen, have a fantastic weekend. We're in the Spice Mass season. Make sure you're going out and, you go to the tents and listen to some of the guys. So, make sure you're doing some stuff for yourself and you're relaxing, you're rejuvenating, and make sure of all things that every day you're becoming a better version of the person you were yesterday. I want to wish you guys a fantastic day, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good one. Bye.
Looking for the ultimate island experience? Hop on the Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tour and explore Grenada like never before. Feel the tropical breeze, sip on authentic Caribbean rum punch, and cruise through Grenada's stunning scenery in our unique and fun tuk-tuks. It's the perfect blend of adventure and island flavor. Book your unforgettable tour now at ride.gd or call 473-422-1011. Don't just see Grenada, experience it with Ride Tuk Tuk Rum Punch Tours today.